What's going on, guys? It's Dave with LoFiTrader here. Listen, we're going to go over a couple of things first, then we'll jump right into the stock market watch list. But first, we need to go over the breadth of the market. So we'll look at the SPY, we'll look at the Russell, we'll look at the overall Dow Industrial. We'll look at a little bit of everything, guys, so we can understand the broader market and where it's headed. Because if we know where the broader market's headed, then we can take tasty little trades on things that move a little quicker. So let's jump right into it and see what we got for the day, baby. All right, guys, so what we got going on in the overall market, we're going to start with the SPY, or also known as the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 here, this is the hourly on the top, just so you guys know, and on the bottom down here is your daily. So if we zoom in on the daily here, we can see that we have been on this deep downtrend for quite some time, guys. If we just follow this out, we can see that we had this continuation downtrend. Now back here in October of 2022, we found our lows. Now, are these the lows or will it go lower? Well, I'm not here to predict, I'm just here to react. And what I can see, if we zoom in a little bit further, is on this daily here, we keep holding these new higher lows. So here's our low, here's a new higher low, here's a new higher low, and are we going to pull back here to find a new higher low, or are we going to break down with the S&P 500? Well, that is the real question here. So if we zoom in now onto our hourly, knowing where our chart is, we know that this 410 area is a key level. Since our inception of this YouTube channel, we know for a fact that this 410 has been wanting to hold true as a key level of price action. Okay, so what do I mean by price action? I mean, when the price comes to this area, it always is reacting to this area. It's either reacting as resistance or support. And in this case, where we are at is acting as support. So to me, this is the line in the sand before it wants to head lower. This range that I have drawn out for you at 406 to 412. So if it wants to break 410, I believe that it's going to at least come down to test this 406 area. Now, if it doesn't want to do that and it wants to defend this 410 well and wants to head higher, then watch out, hold on to your longs, because this thing might be Rip City biscuit to the north side. So we'll see if it wants to do that. So let's look at the tech hungry QQQ that holds all your largest tech stocks like Apple and Microsoft and Tesla. It's about 100 stocks in this ETF, and it has shown a true leader overall. Not to mention, S&P 500 is above a 200-day moving average, which is absolutely beautiful. And now the QQQs still and has been holding over the 200-day moving average since the 1st of February. Okay, so since the 1st of February, the QQQs have been the leader. Tech hungry, tech having at ya. Go ahead, buy a few shares if you will, but make sure you use proper risk management. Right now, we're trying to defend this 314 area, okay? This 314 area, if it breaks down, I don't want anything to do with QQQs. I would want to wait to see where it was headed, which I imagine would be somewhere around this 304 to 36 area. And why do I say that? Well, that's our next area of support. So if this wants to bounce, if it wants to hold a new lower high off 312, QQQ has an amazing chance to continue heading higher. Now, if we zoom out on the daily, you can see that it did break its downtrend. It came back, it retested that 200-day moving average, and now is heading higher. So the overall market so far, just on our standpoint of the S&P 500 and the overall tech-hungry QQQ, seems to be pretty strong. Let's look at the IWM. Now, the IWM here looks as though it's still trying to hold new higher lows. Okay, on the daily here, it has pulled back. It found on the daily new higher lows, but now can we hold new higher lows from this 170 area? So that's the real question here. We knew we had a lot of price action at 170. Now 177 is going to be the next real test. And why do I say that? Well, we see all this price action here. if we can hold this price action here and hold this uptrend, if we see, I'll just draw it out here for you on the hourly, we have an uptrend. Okay, if it can hold out on those uptrends and keep breaking and making new higher lows in the hourly, that is going to be absolutely beautiful for the overall market. Now, do keep in mind that we have to come up and test this 186 area. This 186 looks a little extended from where we're at right now, but we need to keep in mind if this thing wants to break out and head higher, it can do it in just a few days. Okay, it really can. Now, the overall financial sector, that banking sector, it had a huge scare, and that's why we had this huge sell-off. But we need to keep in mind that they aren't insolvent, and they are doing what they can to keep them from being insolvent, okay? So, that being said, with the overall market, if the bank sector wants to hold up, I think IWM will also want to hold up. So, we are looking at the NASDAQ. NDX, the NASDAQ 100 index in this area right here, guys. You can see it's wanting to hold, but it looks like it's starting to curl. Okay, so it broke out, it made a new high since the 1st of February of this year, and now looks like it's starting to curl over. So please keep that in mind. We have these tops right here at 13,196, and if it wants to break out, watch out. If it makes a new higher low in this area, watch out. I'm telling you, this thing can really break out. But if it doesn't want to hold this area, if it wants to break down from here, we obviously can come back down to this 12,475 area for a retest. So keep that in mind, guys, that NASDAQ does kind of look like it's curling, but we need to wait to see where support will be found. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial, these are going to be your old grandfather stocks, your big heavy stocks, your Walmarts, your Coca-Colas, your McDonald's, which, speaking of which, a few of those are having earnings this week, so keep that in mind. Now, you can see that on the daily that we've been on a downtrend on the Dow Jones Industrial. It came back up to retest this peak here from August 16th, now testing this area, showing that it is its resistance. This new curl, this new push that it had up off of the 200-day moving average, looks like it's starting to find some resistance there and starting to curl over. So that could be a bad sign for the Dow Jones Industrial. But if it wants to hold a new lower high off of this daily bottom of 31,397, then we might be able to see clearer skies above this $3,400 area. And if it wants to continue from there, that would be an absolute beautiful sign for the overall market and the economy in general. Now, of course, we have to look at the dollar, guys. We went through some of our bigger indices there. Now let's look at some other attributes that might help move this market. So first, we'll look at the dollar. So the dollar here is at these lows after all of that inflation and everybody diving all their money into America for safety. Now that we are starting to see inflation come down, we are starting to see a lot of this stuff kind of cool off. Not to say it can't come back, but it is cooling off over the past 4 or 5 months here. And now that it's cooling off, you can tell and you can see it in our dollar. Now, let's look at the VIX. VIX is at all-time lows. It means it's not very volatile. The markets aren't seeing a huge momentum shift in volatility, but reminding you all, at these lows, we can always see a big run-up. You can see it every time it gets down here, and it's not very volatile. Something crazy has been happening. So we need to keep that in mind. We need to keep an eye out in the overall market to make sure that we don't get caught off sides. I always like to preach risk management, and there's huge reasons for that. If things get very, very volatile, they might be able to just push right out of your stops and continue heading in the wrong direction, right? So now let's look over some tech-heavy names because we know they've been doing very well and leading this market. And then we'll go over my watch list, guys. I'm pumped to show it to you. So I'll just bring it up here in case you want to skip ahead. But for now, let's just run through these because these have been showing amazing price action. When I say these, I'm talking about the tech stocks, okay? They have been showing amazing price action. I absolutely love keeping an eye on these because they are offering some amazing plays. So Netflix here, it looks like it pushed up crazy. If you guys were here when I was live, this thing was just ramping up to the north side. It was absolutely beautiful. And it found some resistance finally up here at 341. What now, without trying to give another little push higher up here to 356, or I'm sorry, 351, before starting to head lower. Now trading at 328.62. It looks like bouncing off of these 320, this 320 area of support. So now we're kind of just playing in the middle here. We have a range at 332 and 316, just kind of bouncing around in this area for now. We're going to have to wait for some tight price action before we want to take a tasty trade. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Now Microsoft, I did take a short, and I am short in Microsoft. I'm short in this area. I'm not going to give it a lot of time. I'm not going to give this a lot of time. If it wants to come back up here and stop me out for break even, I'm fine with that. But what I'm looking for is for this to actually come down and retest this 282 level. Once it tests that, I'll be half out of my short sales, and then I'm going to hold on to the last piece either for break even or for a continuation down to this 272 area. That's going to be my next area where I would want to get the rest of my shares out of, and then possibly switch biases. So just with the overall breadth of the market, I want to give that some time to move, some time to run. But if it does want to hold these areas, if Microsoft does want to hold 282, I'm not going to be in this for a long time, guys. I'm going to be in this for a good time. Okay, so make sure you put your capital where it's making you money first and foremost. Okay, so this is more of a swing or intraday trade idea, not a swing trade. Your swing trades will be coming up very shortly. AMZN, if you guys were watching during the live stream, I called this breakout. It was absolutely beautiful. It broke out of here, it held, it came back, it retested that $100 area, and then took off higher. Absolutely beautiful. Love to see it. Now above $100 and creating new higher lows on your hourly and daily. AMZN now pushing right up into that 200-day moving average. Now I did try to take a short at that 200-day moving average once it first met this. I was a little early on that. Not saying that this is still a short, but I did want to take that chance. So I was keeping an eye on this because if you look on the daily, every time it's came up into that 200-day moving average, it has failed. But now it looks like it keeps wanting to test. Now with some volume coming in here, will it hold this 200-day moving average? Or if we do get a pullback, will it pull back to a significant area, holding new higher lows, proving that the bulls still have Amazon in its clutches? Next up is Meta. Now keep in mind, Meta is coming out with earnings along with Microsoft. I don't want to forget to tell you guys that Microsoft earnings are coming out on the 25th, so keep that in mind. Amazon as well is having their earnings. They're coming out on the 27th, and now Meta, don't forget Meta, is coming out on the 26th. So with all of that in mind, guys, we want to be sure that you're on the right side of things before those earnings come out. And if you don't know, or if you are unsure, or you don't have a lead in the market on those on your capital, I would not suggest holding into earnings, because earnings can be a gamble, and depending if you've been doing this, if you're a seasoned vet, you already know what I'm going to say. But if you're new to trading or new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But when you look at Meta, when you look at things like this, very, very volatile. Now it's only moving 2.2% in a day, but keep in mind with these larger stocks what your risk reward can be. Okay, so if it's moving 2.2% a day and you got your account in there, 2.2% could be very significant depending on what your risk reward is. Okay, so keep that in mind. Next up is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is looking just like our other tech stocks, but we do want to keep in mind this is a leader in the overall market itself and a leader in the chip sector. So in this tech sector, this tech heavy in the QQQs, NVDA has been showing us a lot of pride, a lot of true colors here that it is very strong. Now, it looks like it's trading in between this range of 280 and 263. So in between that range currently at 271, smack dab in the middle, we're going to see what NVIDIA wants to do in this area. We are seeing a little bit of resistance, but if it can break through, I think we might be able to hold a new higher low here and showing that this thing wants to push higher. Now I'm obviously going to put alert right above this, because if this thing wants to break out from this area, I think we'll have another continuation higher. The last time it broke out from its area, it came up and pushed to 10%. 10% is a beautiful thing, especially on a stock that only moves 2.6% in a day. So if we can make our money quick, make 10% on a breakout on this trade, we need to make sure that we're using proper risk management and that we play the breakout, not a fake out. So let's keep that in mind. Next up is Tesla. So Tesla got smacked very hard during earnings, and then after Elon Musk came out and started talking, went a little lower. Now, are these the lows? Well, time will tell, guys. We know that we have this base on the hourly at 162. It's touched a couple of times, and now it's kind of showing a little bit of a slowdown in this area. This could be a nice trade, but for me personally, I need a few more days to see what the actual price action is being taken place. Because as of right now, I could use this as my risk, but it's not very solid. It's not really showing me too much pride or support. And if I were going to use that as risk, I want to get my price a little bit closer to that risk. So that being said, I'm hands off of Tesla, just keeping an eye on it. I might take intraday trades on it if I can find proper risk reward, find that risk management that I need. But keep in mind, Tesla is still under a 200-day moving average. And when you're under a 200-day moving average, nothing really happens good after dark, as Grandma used to tell me. So nothing good is going to happen below that 200-day moving average. Let's give it some more time to shape up. Next up is AAPL, the delicious and nutritious apple. It's looking good here. Following this downtrend, it looks like it's finally broke up above it, but now it's right back down retesting this area. I was in a chat room the other day, just a few days ago, and I seen all these wicks on the hourly on the top, and I could just tell how weak it was looking. Just so much sell-off, so much sell-off. Finally, it broke above that sell-off and then got smacked hard. Got smacked even harder in the after hours, and now it's back down here retesting that downtrend line. So I do like those retests, and I do like to see what kind of action takes place here. So it does look like it's trying to hold in this area, but after it held and it ripped back up, there was another huge area of sell-off. So keep in mind, guys, we are on this downtrend still. It just broke above. This could be the fake out or the bull trap, if you will. Now heading lower, it looks like it's going to curl over and head down lower. Now these aren't buy or sell recommendations. Please do your own due diligence. That was a mouthful. Let me take a sip of coffee. You got to do your own due diligence, okay? Because what I'm showing you, the technical patterns that I'm showing you don't hold true. You don't know what to do. You're going to start panicking. You might buy, you might sell, you might do something stupid, and I don't want you to blame me for it, because every trade idea I have is my idea, not yours. This is here for your educational, maybe not educational, but for your entertainment purposes only, okay? So if you enjoy this kind of content or this value this at all, just hit that like, hit that subscribe button, guys, because I am here every Friday and Sunday, and then I sprinkle in some shorts in there for you too, because I just absolutely love doing it. So let's go ahead and move on to Google. Good old Google. Looks like this is doing great, holding new higher lows on the daily. It's just kind of trading sideways in a range on the hourly here. If we look in between 103 and 109, it's kind of right in the middle at 105.64. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see if that wants to shape up and continue to head higher. But for me right now, I wouldn't want to play this thing at all until it hits one of these lows, and then I want to really hold on to that side. So honorable mention is Riot, because Bitcoin has been doing so great. It has pulled back right back down. I like this $10 area. just because it's held as a key support. What is Riot? Well, Riot is a Bitcoin miner. So if you're looking at Bitcoin, you're going to want to look at Riot as well. So I just have that on the list. So that's going to be our overall tech stock. Now we can go through some of the stocks, and I'm just going to give you guys, let's say 6. So if you've waited this long, congratulations. I'm patting you on the back right now. You pat yourself on the back, but don't hurt your arm. We don't want none of that. So we got, let's just do 4 or 5. We'll just do 4 or 5 stocks that I'm keeping an eye on. I will have some money into these. Some of these I'm waiting for the right time to put some money into these. But remember, these aren't buy or sell recommendations, guys. These are my ideas, and I love my ideas. I hope you do too. All right, anyway, so ONON, if you guys don't or have not heard about ONON, you're sleeping under a rock. Now, I have only heard a few bad things about these, but they are a shoe company. I'm sure they're going to branch out just like any other shoe company, and they'll start making apparel. If they haven't already, let me know in the comments. Has ONON already started making apparel, or are they shoes only? Regardless of that situation, though, if we look at a technical standpoint, it's above a 200-day moving average. It's also curling. We can tell that it took market by surprise when its earnings beat its estimate. So they are already earning money. They're already looking good. And this company, it looks very, very strong in this market. So ONON, if you don't have this on your watch list, you need to do that ASAP. Put it on there right now. This is a beautiful cup. I was kind of waiting for a handle here. So I seen this cup, and then I seen this little hook, and I was waiting for it to trade sideways for a few days, just above 32, just kind of bouncing around before heading higher, but it looks like this stock is stronger than I assumed, now pushing higher already. So it is a little extended for me from this 10 and 21 day moving average that are converging currently. So if it can just give me a day of pullback, I promise, give me a day of pullback, ONON, and I will take a bite out of crime, and we will hopefully, and I say that respectfully, hopefully hold on to something like that for continuation higher. Now, as you guys know, I've been watching DraftKings for quite some time. I have a lot of drawings on here. No, I'm not going to get rid of it. You're going to have to deal with it. But down here on the daily, if you take a little peeky gander, maybe I can make my stuff a little bit smaller. Hopefully it didn't ruin anything for you. But DraftKings here, if you guys take a look at DraftKings, it's absolutely beautiful cup right here. Now I'm waiting for the handle. Now this thing doesn't want to give me too much of a handle, but it's going to give me a hassle most likely. So if this thing wants to pull back, show me a range in this area so that way I can play it. That would be absolutely beautiful. But this is a good looking stock above a 200-day curling 200-day moving average to the north side. Now creating this cup and forming a bit of a handle here, but I'm not ready to get in. I want to see another pullback. If this thing wants to scream higher, you know, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt to watch this thing go on without me. But you know, we're extended from this 10 and 21 day moving average, so I just can't get in. I cannot get in right now, so I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Lululemon, we're having a lot of debates about Lulu. We know that a lot of people are watching Lulu, so if you want to see or take a peeky gander at Lulu, I would suggest that you do. It is looking like a growth stock above the 200-day moving average. The 200-day moving average is curling up to the north side, but do keep in mind we are in overbought territories, 1, and 2, if you look at this area, you can see this price action has hit just above it in this 385 area, 1, 2, 3, 4, and coming into 5 times right now. So if this is an area of resistance, don't be surprised if we get a big pullback or if this thing wants to sell off. But Lululemon is very popular among a lot of you retail traders. Now, it does look like its earnings gap up was absolutely beautiful. And if you played this earnings gap up the way I like to play it, you could have played this off of the hourly breakout right here. If you wanted to, the hourly opening right here would have stopped you out. So the earnings breakout wouldn't have worked out so well, but now making a cup with a handle in this area, heading higher. With resistance overhead, guys, I still need more time. There's no episodic pivot or anything in that nature in these earning gap ups that when it gaps up into resistance, that's never a good sign. You want to see it gap up over these resistance areas and then sometimes come back down and test those areas before ramping up higher. But every stock is going to move a little different. This one, I just got to sit back, relax, and keep an eye on. Now, HUBS though, this HUBS, you know, I don't know too much about the stock. I haven't looked up the fundamentals too much, but I do know on a technical basis, it's above a 200-day moving average. It's curling up to the north side, and it's creating this beautiful pennant, this beautiful flag, if you will, and this bull flag, if you will. It does look like it's ready for a breakout. Now, do keep in mind, HUBS does come out with their earnings on the 3rd of next month. So we want to keep an eye on this stock, but we don't want to be in it before earnings unless you have a lead on that overall stock. So I'm keeping an eye on this because this breakout here would be absolutely scrumptious for the overall push. So I got in just a few shares of this currently right now. It's not going to show you. Just holding 10 shares of this, guys, personally, and I'm just using my entry down here at 415.97 as a stop. So it is a tight stop because I want to use that 10-day moving average. It hasn't showed that it's following that, but on the breakout, if it wants to break out from here, I want to use the moving averages as my stop. So I have a guide so I know when to take out profit. So that's my focus. That's my focus on HUBS. That's exactly how I think I'm going to play that. So we'll see if it wants to continue holding this uptrend and continuing heading higher. Last and not least, I want to show you IoT. So this IoT is a growth-looking stock. It looks absolutely beautiful. Now on a new rising 200-day moving average and holding new highs since, heck, the last time we've seen this was February 17th, 2022. The cool thing about this is it's a new IPO. It just came out at the end of 2021, so the beginning of 2022. So it's been open for about a year and a half now, and this thing just looks absolutely beautiful. It had this curl. It has its bottom, its base that it made down here, right here at $8.39. And then after that, after earnings, it gapped up, holding new higher lows, holding some of that gap, and now heading higher. This looks absolutely amazing for this stock. Now, of course, I always do want to keep in mind that it is showing this resistance in this area, and it could break down from this area. So keep that in mind. You do have risk management. You do know where your stop losses are, and do keep in mind these are my ideas, not yours. Now, remember, guys, my name is Dave. This is LoFiTrader. If you stuck with me throughout this whole video, thank you so much. I do appreciate your time. Do keep in mind we have a lot of earnings coming up, and make sure you don't get caught in those gambles. I think this week is going to be an amazing time in the overall market. Just because earnings can sometimes really speed up a bull or bear market. So if things look really bad, even if they do look bad and the overall market wants to hold up, that means bad news can't bring this market down. The market's going to head higher. If we have awesome earnings that are coming out and the overall market is still looking good as it is right now, as I showed you in all the indices, well, then the market could continue higher with good expected earnings. So let's keep an eye on earnings. Do keep in mind, though, Tuesday, April 25th, we have the building permits that come out at 9:30. That's going to be very volatile. We have core durable goods that come out on Wednesday, April 26th at 8:30. We have GDP that comes out April 27th, which is Thursday, at 8:30. Also, initial jobless claims is coming out that same day at 8:30 at the same time. And then, of course, on Friday, we have the core PCE that's coming out at 8:30, and I will be live on that day at 8 a.m. to show and give you the data drop, and then give you my overall excerpt on the market, and then you'll see me take some live trades that day. Okay, guys? So make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for being here, and yeah, appreciate your time. Peace.